Hello everyone, ex-Wallkill Bethelite here, out getting a little exercise, and we need to talk about the culture of Jehovah's Witnesses, because they've created a culture that's unique to that particular religion, in that people can acquire titles. And I want you to understand how important these titles are. Even the women who can't acquire the title themselves, outside of Pioneer is the only title they can really acquire, or Auxiliary Pioneer, they receive admiration from their husband having those titles. So the titles I'm talking about are ministerial servant, elder, circuit overseer, Bethelite, Bethel elder, and the such. Now, in order to receive those titles, right, you don't need the same things you would need in any other kind of a structured organization, right? You don't need any kind of schooling, no college. You don't even have to do good deeds out in the community. The only thing that's important is how you look in front of the congregation. That's literally the only thing that's important to receive titles. It doesn't matter with what's going on in your family, right? Because most Jehovah's Witnesses, a lot of them have got family drama that they just keep behind closed doors. And as long as when everyone goes to the Kingdom Hall, everyone is smiling, they're raising their hand to give a comment, it's all good. You can have a family that has spousal abuse. I'm talking husband and wife arguing and fighting and carrying on. But as long as when meeting time hits, they are smiling at the hall, their kids raise their hand and give at least one comment, they are praised as, you know, the ideal model family. It's all about what goes on within the walls of the Kingdom Hall. So that's how people acquire titles. And you have to understand that the Jehovah's Witness structure is different from others. It's different from the Mormons. It's different from the Baptists. For example, the Mormons, you've seen the Mormons on their bikes with the backpack, and they're riding around and preaching. Here's the lovely Serenity here. Let her get back to her meditations. But the Mormons, you see them out, and typically you're talking about younger men, right? And these young men have a badge on. And what's on the badge? Elder such and such. So the difference between the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons, as far as titles are concerned, is that Mormons, they get titles from the time that they're used, right? Everyone essentially gets a position or a title essentially just by being a member of the church. Titles aren't the be-all, end-all, where some people get titles, some people don't. It doesn't work that way within the Mormon church. So you see really young men with the title of elder, and it's not a big deal. Being an elder for a Mormon is not a big deal. They don't hang their entire self-worth on them being an elder or not. So the Jehovah's Witness structure is totally different, and that everybody does not get these titles. They give it to a select few people. Not only do they give it to a select few people, they tell everyone that their organization is the only one being used by God. In other words, their organization is a prestigious organization. And within that prestigious organization, they're receiving titles such as ministerial servant, elder, and the such. So it really blows up the head of the members of the congregation who do have these titles. And if you think about, for example, the Baptist church, pastor is a title. Oftentimes the pastor, however, has to have had some sort of schooling, right? They have to have done something to acquire the title of pastor. That's not the case with Jehovah's Witnesses. So in a nutshell, the Jehovah's Witnesses have created a structure where they're giving out titles to wife beaters, they're giving out titles to pedophiles, they're giving out titles to people who are mentally not stable, they're giving out titles to the worst people in the community, because all you have to do to acquire those titles is show up, raise your hand during meetings, and repeat whatever it is that Watchtower wants them to repeat. As long as you regurgitate whatever it is Watchtower is telling you to regurgitate, then they'll give you all kinds of titles and accolades. And the thing that I don't understand about them is, you know, they get the big head when they get titles such as elder and the such, but the only thing that they do is repeat what it is they're asked to repeat. That's essentially all that they do. So they don't really have any kind of accomplishments to go along with the title. Even giving a public talk, the Jehovah's Witnesses feel like, oh man, I'm just the most prestigious person in the world because I'm giving what they call a public talk. What they call a public talk is an outline that's already pre-prepared. It's repeating whatever is on the outline. Essentially, it's parroting whatever Watchtower tells them to say for 45 minutes or so. As long as you can parrot back whatever Watchtower says for 45 minutes, then wow, you're a great speaker to them. And they're all sitting around talking about how, wow, there was a period and you stopped at it. Wow, there was a comma and you slowed down when you got to the comma. See, this is the type of talk that goes on within the Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses, because it's almost like a bunch of fifth graders that are congratulating each other on their reading. It's literally what it is. It's literally what it is. Wow, you gestured when you were talking about how hot it is outside. You did like this and you fanned yourself. Wow, unbelievable. Jehovah's Witnesses have created a system in which imbeciles pat each other on the back and give accolades for doing things like stopping at periods, slowing down at commas, moving your hand to gesture as you talk, and essentially being able to stand up on a stage and talk about something that's already been pre-prepared and is on an outline. All you got to do is talk about it without messing up too much and being able to stop at periods. You think I'm lying? That is the structure of Jehovah's Witnesses. If you can stop at a period, and essentially if you can read then you are a great public speaker, then you are an elder. If you can get up on the stage, point to somebody and ask them to read a paragraph, and then after they read a paragraph, you read a question. The answer for that question is in the paragraph. And then after they repeat the question that's in the paragraph, you say, good job, then you're an elder. And Jehovah's Witnesses are aware that they don't really do anything to acquire these titles or to show that they're worthy of these titles, but parrot back whatever Watchtower tells them to do or say, or stand next to a cart. So just to illustrate this, I'll tell you what happened when I was at Walk Hill Bethel. Just by talking to members of the congregation, during the weekends, I would go out and sometimes stay with people in the congregation. Well, they mentioned there was a woman, just in general conversation, they mentioned that there was a woman who used to go to the hall, but they haven't seen her for a while. They think that she's at a nursing home somewhere. Well, I inquired as to which nursing home they think that she's at, and I did what I thought that was the nice thing to do. I went to the nursing home and asked the staff if such and such was there. Believe it or not, she was there. So I go in and I talk to her, and hey, I'm from such and such congregation, which was her congregation. But since I had been there, since I'd been assigned there from Bethel, I was assigned after she had already long been at the nursing home. And while I'm talking to her, I find out nobody's been visiting her. Nobody's been coming to see her. And she's been having all these issues with the nursing home staff, and she's telling me all about it as if I'm a relative, because she's so lonely because nobody from the congregation came to see her. Come to find out, I invite her to a meeting. To my surprise, she says yes. To my surprise, the nursing home staff had no problem with her going to her meeting. The only reason she had stopped going to meetings is because once she lost the ability to drive herself and she ended up in a nursing home, nobody checked on her. She would have been going to meetings if somebody would have checked on her and just asked her if she wanted to go. So I'm surprised. I'm like, okay, is it this easy? She wants to go to the meeting. So I come back that Sunday. You know, she gets in my car. We drive to the meeting. And this is what I'm saying about Jehovah's Witnesses. It's all about how you look inside those walls of the Kingdom Hall. We go to the Kingdom Hall, and everybody's like, wow, I haven't seen Sister such and such in a long time. And, of course, she's sitting next to me because I drove her there. So everybody's looking over at me like, wow, here's this Bethelite, and this Bethelite is caring for the congregation. He went to go and pick up a sister from the nursing home and drive her to the hall, and he's at Bethel. I'm not even asking for these accolades. But this is what Jehovah's Witnesses do. They just pat each other on the back for any little thing that is done. After the meeting, I kid you not, the other Bethelites, out of jealousy, I kid you not, this really happened. The other Bethelites spoke to me after the meeting, and they said, word for word, hey, share the wealth. And they got the information as to which nursing home she was at from me. And they said, hey, we're all going to take turns dropping her off. Essentially, I look good to the congregation if I'm the one dropping her off, and everybody else looks like slouches. And within Jehovah's Witnesses, how you look is the only thing that matters. So even though I was the only one that went to go visit her out of concern, they started picking her up out of concern of how they looked to the congregation, with me being the only Bethelite that had enough concern to go and see the sister. So then, and this is the Bethel elder that's saying, hey, we're going to make a schedule and we're all going to pick her up, right? From here on out. We're taking this accolade from Marcus and we're going, I didn't ask for the accolade. I didn't see it as an accolade. I saw it as just doing a nice thing. So from that point on, they started all picking her up. And the sister actually started, you know, getting a big head a little bit, because now all the Bethelites are picking her up. And now she sits there at the congregation. She raises her hand and gives a comment and throws her head up in the air like, you know, she's an honorary Bethelite now. That's the culture. It's all about how you look. The woman went from having no one even visit her to all of a sudden all the Bethelites are taking turns picking her up and taking her to the hall. So now she's big stuff. She's royalty. She's Jehovah's Witness royalty now. And that's what it's all about. It's all about being in an environment where just by doing something that just about anybody could do, you're treated as royalty. Just from answering a question at a watchtower, you're treated as royalty. And that's why you have some Jehovah's Witnesses that try to raise their hand 15 times because they want to answer more questions than everybody else. And if they answer more questions than everybody else, they feel like they're just royalty. That's what it boils down to. So one reason why it's difficult for people to leave the cult of Jehovah's Witnesses is that there is no place else where you can get accolades just by showing up and repeating whatever on earth is in a magazine, and it is so impressive to everyone. Getting up on stage and regurgitating what Watchtower has already written out. And they feel like royalty. I'm an elder. No, you're not an elder. Watchtower uses the term elder, but that don't mean you are an elder. All you do is step and fetch it for Watchtower. All you do is repeat whatever in the world they already outlined for the evening. Jehovah's Witnesses will even all tell you, we all study the same thing everywhere. Why? Because none of the elders in all these different congregations, they don't prepare nothing. They just repeat whatever the heck Watchtower already printed out for that evening. And they just try not to screw it up. They try to stop at periods, slow down at commas. And they try to do it within a certain time frame. So if you have a part, is what they call it, the part is essentially repeating whatever the part of what Watchtower outlined for them to repeat for that evening. If you can do it within 5 minutes, oh my goodness, you are just the most skilled person in the world. Because you gave a 5-minute part and you did it within the 5 minutes. Oh my goodness, you're royalty. This is what it's all about. And Jehovah's Witnesses, they can't get those types of accolades and pats on the back for being given 5 minutes to deliver information and doing it within 5 minutes. Right? Nowhere else do people look at that as something that is the greatest accomplishment in the world. So when people wonder, why is it that you have all these people who are in a cult? Why do they join the cult? Why are they in the cult? That's the reason. You have people who are mentally ill and they're getting patted on the back and given titles like elder and ministerial servant. You got people who are pedophiles and child rapists and they beat women and they're total failures at life. But when they go to the Kingdom Hall, All they got to do is raise their hand and answer that question, and they are patted on the back and paraded around as elders and ministerial servants, and they're the greatest in the world, and stand next to a card, and now they got titles of pioneer. They are the pioneer. You're not the pioneer of nothing. All you do is stand next to a damn cart. You had to pioneer nothing. All you did is write a letter. All you did was knock on a door and give a magazine that was already pre-printed out and everything. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. X Wall Kill Bethelite signing out.